Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today we're going to be talking about Best Director and Best Original Screenplay and Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar predictions for October. Now, before I go on, I do want to let you guys know that memberships are open and the price has been slashed. Now it's $1.99 a month, and for that you still get all the perks that you had before and stuff, and we've already got a lot of videos up there, so consider becoming a member. It would mean a lot. Now, let's get into the predictions, shall we? Alright. I still think The Brutalist is winning Best Director, like Brady Corbett. This, out of all the other contenders, because I know a lot of people are trying to predict Sean Baker for Anora, but I don't know. I feel like The Brutalist just kind of makes more sense between the two. Like, let's compare. Anora, granted, I have not seen it, but if the trailers are anything to go by, it's nothing like a Best Director winner we'd ever really seen in a very long time, at least as far as I can remember. Because usually director winners are very kind of large scale in a sense, even if it's nothing, even if it's not like, you know, Dune or something like that, or Avatar. They still feel like they feel like they have some sort of weight to them, all right? And Anora doesn't really feel like it feels like a very small film. Now, people are going to try to say, well, I mean, Parasite wasn't that large of a film. It really was, though. Like, it had, like, a big, production design nomination, and when you actually look at the sets, they were really, really big. And it really did feel like, yeah, like, it's not like, you know, 1917, and it is small compared to some of the other winners that we've had, but it's still pretty large scale. You also had, what was that movie called? It was called, Roma. Yeah, Roma, with Alfonso Cuarón directing. That film, yeah, that also felt like it was pretty small to an extent, but it still had a large feel to it. It still had large cinematography, large crowds, even lots of visual effects shots and whatnot. Like, Roma still felt big to an extent. Anora, again, haven't seen it. It looks like an indie. It looks like it's trying to be more that indie style. And people could make the argument, well, what about Chloe Zhao for Nomadland? Sure, but the other thing you have to kind of keep in mind is, would Nomadland have won Best Director if the pandemic never happened? Because I think that, like, you know, it is true that every Best Picture winner has a story behind it and the context of the world. And I think because of the context of, you know, where we were in 2020 and COVID, that it allowed a movie like Nomadland to rise to the top, even in director. But let's say the pandemic never happened. I don't think Nomadland would have really done that. I don't know if it would have actually won Best Director for that. Even if it won Best Picture, I don't know if it would have won Best Director, because maybe they could have gone for it in Screenplay. But it's just a weird thing. 2020 was just a weird year overall, whereas now things are looking somewhat normal in terms of movies. And I feel like The Brutalist just makes way more sense as a director winner, because you hear about the film. Again, I haven't seen it. I've only been, you know, going off of reviews and stuff. It does feel like that big, large-scale film that would win Best Director. Now, why do I have Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez at number 2 instead of Sean Baker? Well, because, well, again, I haven't seen Emilia Perez. I'm kind of going off of, you know, the trailers and reviews and whatnot. Like, the fact that this is, like, a big musical with, like, some action sequences, and also it's looking to be, like, a top 5 contender for Best Picture, and it's a crowd pleaser, I want to keep my eyes on that, because there is maybe a world where it could just, where that could take Best Director, but at the same time, like, I guess my reason for not predicting it is because I don't know what precursors it would get. Like, would it win DGA? Like, would it actually win DGA? I'm not exactly sure about that. Now, you know, because international films don't really win director that much, although, you know, Alfonso Cuarón did with Roma, but Roma was, like, sweeping Best Picture. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I think, won DGA. But, again, I don't know. But at the same time, Emilia Perez can also be considered controversial, but I don't know how much that controversy is going to be spreading to the general public, so, and whatnot. So that's a really fascinating thing to think about. But again, like, I could maybe see it, but right now, Brady Corbet just makes way too much sense as the director winner. Like, I could see him winning literally everywhere, and he probably just might take the Oscar. Now we get to my controversial picks, all right? Clint Eastwood for juror number 2. I feel like this is the one thing that I've been kind of thinking about. And it is that when we look at the consensus 5 for best director, let's go on to the Award Expert app, which, funny enough, I've actually crossed 100 followers on Award Expert. Thank you so much for following me there. What the hell? Sorry, my camera was acting very weird back there. But yeah, I'm looking at the consensus 5. People are predicting The Brutalist at number 1, Anora at number 2, Dune Part 2 at number 3, which, like, I don't know. Jacques Audiard for Emilie Perez at number 4, and Steve McQueen for Blitz at number 5. Now, other than maybe Denis Villeneuve, which I still don't, like, we'll get to why I don't think he's getting nominated here. Other than Denis Villeneuve, there's not really, like, a big, well-known director. Like Steve McQueen, I don't know if, like, the average person would know who Steve McQueen is. And you look at some of the others: Edward Berger, Ramel Ross, Greg Quaidar, Mohamed Rosalov, Pedro Almodovar. These directors, people don't really know about. And what's my point here? Is that you really, in every Oscar season, there's always a director nomination where it's like, most people would know who this director is. Even, like, some people have tried to say, well, what about, 2018? It's like, well, people know who Spike Lee is. People try, what about 2015? Well, I guess George Miller is the least well-known of the well-known directors, but people still know who George Miller is. They know him from Mad Max. They know him from Happy Feet. They know him from Babe. Like, people generally know who George Miller is. Again, maybe he's not as well-known as some of the other big well-known names, but you always have, like, a Christopher Nolan, a Spielberg, a Scorsese, David Fincher. Yeah, David Fincher. That I think that's another good example. God, I can't speak today. And so, like, looking at some of these picks, it's like I kind of want to have one very well-known director in the lineup. And I already have juror number 2 in Best Picture, because I think that movie could be a big surprise. And so I'm kind of going with it and saying that Clint Eastwood's getting nominated for juror number 2. Because you do have a few things there. One, again, it have that director slot where people would know who this director is. It's like, oh yeah, we know who Clint, like, everyone knows Clint Eastwood. But, however, you also have the fact that it is his last film, and maybe they could nominate him to go, like, hey, you did a great job with this film. We're going to give you an Oscar nomination and send you on your way. So, like, that could happen, again, if the movie is good enough. So, yeah, I do think Clint Eastwood is a very, very solid possibility. And granted, yeah. Then you also have Pedro Almodovar for The Room Next Door. If I feel like it's getting into Best Picture, I would very much assume it's getting Best Director, considering, Pedro Almodovar's movies are very well liked by the Academy, even in most other places where they aren't. Parallel Mothers kind of overperformed at the Oscars by getting both original score and lead actress nominations, despite the fact that Penelope Cruz was nominated nowhere else. So, like, the fact that the Oscars have already shown to love Pedro Almodovar's movies, I feel like his first English language film is going to be too irresistible, but at the same time, that means I'm kicking out Mohamed Rosalov for the Seed of the Sacred Fig, and I actually did see this film yesterday. I did see Seed of the Sacred Fig. This has very much the makings of a Best Picture nomination. Like, it is a slow burn at first, and I was wondering, okay, where is this going? But the way that things kept escalating and escalating and escalating until we get to that third act, wow. Like, that third act really, like, pulls everything together for me. And I could definitely see Mohamed Russolov getting nominated for that, especially since there is, like, the importance behind the film where it was made in secret from the Iranian government. He's on the run from the Iranian government. He's currently in Europe, and basically it's the movie that Iran doesn't want you to see. So I like that whole narrative, and again, the fact that people, okay, how do I explain it? There are some detractors from the film, but I keep looking. Everyone seems to love this movie. It still has a 4.0 on Letterboxd, a 7.8 on IMDb, an 84 on Metacritic, and a 93% Rotten Tomatoes percentage, and an 8.1 out of 10 average rating. So it's like, people still, like, even though the movie does have its detractors, like, the people that like, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, they love it. They love this movie. Or at the very least, like, okay, obviously, how do I explain it? Yeah, there's, at least there are big fans of this movie. And I am one of them. But again, it's just like, those reviews are very, very strong. So why do I have it at number 6? You know, why do I have the film at number 6? I admittedly, I don't know, because Mohamed Russolov makes so much sense as a director nomination. The problem is I don't know who to take out, because I don't think I have, I do have The Room Next Door for adapted screenplay, so they could do it there, but at the same time, like, Pedro Almodovar does make sense for a director branch nomination. Like, the director's branch would go for someone like him. So either, I guess a couple of things would need to happen. One, well, I guess there are a bunch of different scenarios. Maybe Room Next Door just doesn't hit it with precursors. We'll see how the Golden Globes treat it, because if the Golden Globes can't do it, then maybe the movie's cooked. But we'll have to see. Juror number 2, I still want to have that big, well-known director slot. I mean, it would be kind of crazy if they nominated, like, no big, well-known directors. Like, that would be the first that I've seen in a while. So I get, and then at that point you would have to snub someone from the big 3, and I don't know who that would be. Like, I don't think it'd be the Brutalist. I don't think it'd be Sean Baker. Would it be like if Emilia Perez somehow did not get nominated for director, then I would say the movie's just absolutely not winning to Best Picture anymore, because that would be disastrous. But again, I don't know. Again, Mohamed Russolov could definitely get nominated for Best Director, but it's just hard to see, like, who do I take out? So yeah, that's a problem. So I need to figure that out. Unless they just want to go for him in original screenplay. Maybe they'll do that, but I don't know. Next one down, I have Greg Quaidar for Sing Sing. Now, again, I don't know. I don't think he's going to get nominated, but I could maybe see, let's say, like, DGA nominate him, because DGA doesn't really go for international picks that much. Not very often. I mean, and usually when they do, it's for someone who's clearly sweeping Best Director, like Alfonso Cuarón. And even though Ang Lee did not end up winning for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, like, he didn't win the Oscar. He still won DGA, and he was winning pretty much everywhere except Critics' Choice. So, like, yeah, there is that. So, I don't know. But Greg Quaidar, like, I could see him getting into DGA. Let's see, like, I could maybe see, like, Brady Corbett, Sean Baker, Clint Eastwood, Greg Quaidar, and Denis Villeneuve. That sounds like actually a very good DGA 5, because I just don't know if Jacques Audiard and Pedro Almodovar and Mohamed Russolov, I don't know if they're going to get DGA. But that would also mean only 3 out of 5 of the DGA nominees make it to the Best Picture, no, Best Director Oscar nominees. Which, granted, that did happen this year, but that doesn't happen a lot. That usually happens when you actually, when there's like more than one like big international director slot. Which, okay, granted, I guess this could, yeah, I guess that checks out. Now, why do I not have Edward Berger for Conclave? I could see him getting a few precursors, like maybe Golden Globe, maybe Critics' Choice, maybe BAFTA, but admittedly, I like something about Conclave just doesn't really feel like that big, and I feel like people might be overestimating it. Like, I've seen some people saying it's going to win an adapted screenplay, which we'll get to that here in a bit, but I don't know. I feel like Conclave is going to massively underperform. Like, it'll probably still get into Best Picture, but it's probably not going to get that many nominations. And director, I don't know. I don't really see it for that. So, yeah. Then we have Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. He should be winning. Now, granted, okay, I haven't seen some of these other contenders, but of the movies that I've seen so far this year, Denis Villeneuve should be winning. Like, what he did with Dune Part 2 is like such an incredible achievement. But, however, the Academy just hates big like spectacle films. And when I know that kind of that sounds like it goes against my argument when it comes to the Oscars going for like the more large scale films in Best Director, but like recently if movies get too big in a sense in terms of like, you know, its production and stuff, then the director's branch will just snub it. Like, look at Inception, look at The Martian, look at Avatar 2, look at Dune 1, look at, you know, Black Panther didn't get nomination, although granted Black Panther didn't get nominations anywhere, so, And also Barbie was also like a big production, that did not get nominated. So it's like, if you're like some big studio blockbuster film, the director's branch doesn't really want to nominate you. And so, because of that, I just don't have Denis Villeneuve in. Like, he might get every precursor except BAFTA, but he's not gonna get an Oscar nomination for this, which sucks because he absolutely should be winning, and it's just not fair. But that's just how the director's branch works. Then I have James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. I'm kind of just rounding out the Best Picture nominees here because I do want to prioritize Best Picture nominees and director first. And right now, like, I don't think James Mangold is going to get nominated. Maybe DGA, although I've already kind of said what I think DGA might be, so, I don't know, I guess maybe that fifth slot could be between Greg Quaidar and James Mangold. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think he's going to get nominated for this. So, yeah. Steve McQueen for Blitz. Again, I don't have this in... from here on down, I don't have these in Best Picture, so I'm not going to really think of them for Best Director, unless they get into the Best Picture conversation. But let's say, hypothetically, these were in Best Picture. Alright, Steve McQueen for Blitz. I don't know. Like, I don't know. If it was in Best Picture, I'd probably maybe consider... Actually, no. I was about to say I would consider it, but then I realized people are saying this is like the least, like, Steve McQueen-y movie of the films that he's done. Like, his stamp isn't really on it that much. And that would definitely hurt him for Best Director, because again, they go for the picks that feel like, oh yeah, this is clearly like the director's vision. So I don't feel like Steve McQueen would get nominated for this. Ramel Ross for The Nickel Boys. Maybe. It is a very innovative style that they're going for, but I don't know. I don't know. Again, the response has been kind of mixed. I mean, generally people like it, but the people who like it really, really love it. So it's like one of those things. I don't know. Would the style be considered very innovative for the director's branch, or would they see it as just gimmicky? I don't know. We'll have to see. Because, like, we've never really had a movie like that before. Jason Reitman for Saturday Night. I don't think this would get Best Director, because it, like, how do I describe it? Again, it feels very populist in its approach, and I don't know. Like, I don't know. At the same time, you could make an argument that it is his most showy film as a director, because it does have like a big cast, a big set. It does have a lot of like big tracking shots. So, Gladiator 2, Ridley Scott. Now, obviously, if this were in Best Picture, we'd have to maybe consider it, and it would probably get some precursors. But again, just like Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2, I feel like Gladiator 2 would be too much of a big Hollywood spectacle for the director's branch to consider for Best Director. So I don't think they would go. I don't think they would go for Ridley Scott, even if Gladiator 2 got in for Best Picture. Luca Guadagnino for Queer. If this were like much closer to the Best Picture conversation, I would probably consider it. But right now, it doesn't really seem to be happening. But again, never say never, but we'll have to see. Tim Fellbaum for September 5 or September 5th. No, I don't really think so. I'm kind of only considering it because people are trying to predict it in Best Picture. I genuinely think September 5th is like a film that people are trying to make happen because it is somewhat relevant. And I know like every like journalism film is like somewhat relevant, but you know what I mean? Especially with now, I don't know. It feels like it's like being manufactured to be pushed for the Oscars, but I don't really see anyone other than the critics talking about it. So like, it is very strange, but I'm not going to go for that right now. Marielle Heller for Night Bitch. All right, this would have to be like something where, like if it got a DGA, but then again, it would have to be one of those things, because like, I have a feeling maybe there's a world where Night Bitch starts really ramping up as a Best Picture contender. Because I can sort of see that. Maybe I have it too low, if I'm going to be honest. Maybe I have it too low. But right now, I'm not going to go for it, but I don't know. Something makes me think they could start pushing Night Bitch further in Best Picture. Like, let's say it got Writers Guild, which could definitely happen, PGA, DGA. Although at that point, you kind of have to say it's getting nominated for Best Picture. So I'm not going to say it's getting nominated for Best Picture. That's like its best case scenario. But yeah. Ali Abbasi for The Apprentice. The Apprentice has just come out. People seem to generally like it, but from what I understand, it's not doing very well at the box office. Okay, so it made about $1.6 million opening weekend. That's not great, but then again, I don't know. I feel like even then, regardless, this would be clearly more of a screenplay movie than a director movie. So we can't, yeah. And let's see, Malcolm Washington for The Piano Lesson. I don't think so. I feel like, yeah, if The Piano Lesson were to get into Best Picture, but then again, I don't know. Like, it is more of a directing achievement than, like, Fences and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, but this is just so not in that conversation for Best Picture, even lower than those two, that I don't think it's happening. But then we have Coralie Fargeet, I hope I didn't mispronounce that name, for The Substance. Now, this is fascinating. The only reason why I don't have this higher up is because of, you know, like, I don't think they're going to go for a horror movie. But I did see The Substance yesterday. It's fantastic. One of the best films of the year. And the directing is insane. But I don't know. Like, they would have to go out of their way to really like, this movie would have to perform very strong in precursors. But even then, I don't know if it would get director. Especially considering I feel like the top 6 or even 7, more likely the top 6, is so competitive. It's so competitive to where it's like, I gotta, like, I don't know. I feel like it's really between these films up here. So, yeah. And then we get to original screenplay. All right, Anora's winning. I don't think there's going to be much of a competition. You do have The Brutalist, but I feel like that's the kind of film that would, like, they would go, oh, we're giving you Best Director, but we don't need to give you Best Original Screenplay because we know we're giving you Best Director. I'm not saying that's the mindset that people should have, but it's the mindset that people seem to have. Like, The Brutalist, I think, is just so clearly winning director that Anora is just going to end up taking Best Original Screenplay. And Yeah, like, because you give Sean Baker his flowers, you give Brady Corbett his flowers, and it's like everyone goes home happy with little golden men. This is where I feel like we could see the nomination for Mohamed Rusulov, aside from Best Picture, because he was one of the producers of this. But he could get an original screenplay nomination out of this. Sure. It is because The Seed of the Sacred Fig is one of those movies where, like, it is very dialogue driven, and it does slowly build up to that third act climax, or maybe not. I guess that wouldn't be the third act climax. It would just be the third act. But the way everything just kind of piles on top of one another and piles on top of one another, I feel like the escalation of events, I feel like I would be safe and say, maybe not safe, but I would say Seed of the Sacred Fig would get an original screenplay nomination. Now, along with Best Picture and Director, it's not going to get all the precursors. You know, I don't think it's going to get the Golden Globe nomination. Critics' Choice, absolutely not. And it's not even eligible for Writers Guild, so we would have to be banking on BAFTA alone for this. So I'm kind of going on that on a whim for BAFTA right now and saying BAFTA's going to save this movie. But yeah. Juror number 2. Again, I feel like if I have it in Best Picture and Director, I might as well put it in Screenplay. It is also Writers Guild eligible, which is something I want to point out. And if I'm not mistaken, I think, The Seed of the Sacred Fig is not Writers Guild eligible. But Juror number 2 is. And so I could see it getting a few nominations. And plus, like, I could see this getting into, the Critics' Choice. Critics' Choice would probably go for Juror number 2. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe Golden Globes, maybe. I don't know. And then I have The Apprentice, which I was just talking about how I don't think it's, like, I don't know. It's The Apprentice is in a weird position right now because it's not doing that well at the box office, but people still seem to generally very like it. Like, even like Jason Blum, who's an Academy governor, was raving about The Apprentice. And considering it is Writers Guild eligible, that makes me wonder if it could actually squeeze in. Because it is, like, a very fascinating age to look at Donald Trump during the 70s, way before he became president. So that might be interesting. Although, then again, one thing I have noticed is that people haven't really gone out for The Apprentice. Or at the very least, like, people are kind of like, I don't know if I want to see a Trump biopic. But I guess it would have to be one of those things where it's like, if the writers branch sees it, they might nominate it. Because I don't, like, everything else is, I don't know, it doesn't really have a good, like, I'm not feeling very strong about any of the contenders from Five Below. Saturday Night is a film, because I have that at number 6. On paper, this makes complete sense as to why it would get an original screenplay nomination, it's it's big, a lot of big stars in the movie, big ensemble, time's on the clock, and we're trying to get this thing, we're trying to pull the show together. Like, this sounds like something that the Academy would like. However, people just don't seem to care about Saturday Night. Or maybe I should rephrase it. People are let down by Saturday Night. That's the problem. Like, people don't really seem to be all that into Saturday Night. Whereas with The Apprentice, it's gotten generally similar reviews, but for the most part, people are kind of surprised. Like, oh wow, this is better than I would expect from a Donald Trump biopic. Whereas Saturday Night, it's considered a letdown. And I feel like if you're a film that's surprising, you're gonna do better than a film that's considered being a letdown. So, I don't know. Maybe Saturday Night just doesn't get it. Maybe it gets goose egg. But the problem is, I could also see it getting nominated for Critics' Choice and Writers Guild. It could definitely get nominated for those two. Especially mainly considering that Writers Guild and Critics' Choice don't really go for international films that much. So, yeah, like, I could see Saturday Night getting a couple of precursors, but I don't think it's going to get the Oscar. I don't think it's going to get the Oscar nomination. I think it's going to be one of those films that people think is happening, but then ultimately it doesn't. Blitz. This has been shown at film festivals, and people seem to enjoy it quite a bit. I was going to put Blitz at number 5. However, something happened. The reviews started plummeting. Like, I think when the reviews first started coming out, it was like at like high 90s or something. And then it just died. Like, it just straight, it's like, it's now at like 80%. Like, god damn, people are like quickly turning on this film. September 5th. I don't know. Again, I think this is the category it's most strong in. Like, maybe. But again, I don't know. I feel like, again, this is just sort of being like a manufactured film to get into the Oscars. I don't really think it's happening. So, yeah. All right. A Real Pain. Maybe. But again, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like an Oscars thing. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's going to get nominated. Maybe. Granted, I haven't seen it, so we'll have to see. But I don't know. It just doesn't feel like an Oscars thing, to be honest. Then we have The Substance. The ingredients are there. It's just a horror movie. The problem is that it is a horror movie, and that would like hold it back a bit. So I don't know. Hard Truths. This could maybe contend for the BAFTA, but again, even then, BAFTA doesn't really throw in they won't always throw in a random British movie. So I don't know. So again, I don't know about that. And Challengers. I actually did also see Challengers yesterday. Absolutely not. Honestly, I still think Queer has a better shot at this. Granted, I haven't seen Queer, so maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that. But Challengers really feels like one of those like Gen Z populist movies that like people are trying to say is going to happen, but it doesn't end up happening. So I don't know. I just don't think Challengers is gonna be an awards thing at all, except maybe at the Globes. Actually, no, definitely at the Globes, because the comedy musical category is like very barren this year. Now, we get to adapted screenplay, which honestly I feel like is simultaneously more competitive. Actually, no, it is more competitive. But yeah. Sing Sing, if I have Sing Sing winning Best Picture, it only makes sense that I have it winning adapted screenplay. That's just obvious to me. But what are the other comparisons? All right. What about Emilia Perez? Emilia Perez, I don't know. Like, I know a lot of people are saying no way, but let's be fair here. It did place number 2 at TIFF, and the movie that it lost the number 1 slot to, The Life of Chuck, was pushed to next year. So, in a sense, Emilia Perez is kind of our de facto number 1 out of the movies that came out this year. So, you can make a good, like, if you wanted to make an argument for this to win Best Picture, because obviously, I don't know, I feel like director's kind of locked up right now for now, but, however, if you wanted to find an alternative to Best Picture, like, let's say Sing Sing doesn't happen, Emilia Perez, that could be a legitimate argument to make, although I will say, Sing Sing, I feel kind of vindicated that it's going to get that's going to win Best Picture, because an Academy screening was last night, and this is what Matt Neglia was talking about. He said that the response was so overwhelmingly positive. Like, the audience could not get enough of this movie. Like, they brought the cast out, and I even watched that interview, that post-screening interview, and when they brought the cast out, this is something I noticed. All of the supporting cast, that they brought out, got bigger cheers than Coleman Domingo. I think that kind of proves the movie's message is working. And like Matt Nigley was saying, that people were laughing, people were crying, they were cheering. I feel vindicated. Again, the only hurdle that Sing Sing has in terms of winning Best Picture is that it is just not out. But when people see it, they will nominate it. They will nominate it. Now, Something in my head has been kind of thinking like, what if this whole thing about the release is like all planned by A24? Like, hear me out. Because obviously frontrunner fatigue is a real thing. You know, people get tired of seeing something win everything, and once it comes Oscar season, once the Oscars are right around the corner, people turn to the next best option. You know, for example, Boyhood was riding high. It was like, oh man, it won the Golden Globe, the Critics' Choice, BAFTA, but people started to get tired of it. People were like, this movie's kind of boring, which it is. And so they went with Birdman instead, which won DGA, PGA, SAG. And at that point, like, Boyhood had just lost all steam. You also had La La Land, which admittedly was much harder to figure out. Like, you would not know this. But, because, like, literally the only precursor, the only major precursor that La La Land lost was losing original screenplay to Moonlight at Writers Guild, which Moonlight wasn't even going to be competing in original at the Oscars. It was an adapted screenplay. So that was admittedly hard to figure out. But, you know, you also had The Revenant riding high. Like, people were like, oh man, The Revenant's riding high, but then, boop, Spotlight ends up winning. 2017. Everyone thought it was going to be 3 Billboards. It's like, uh-oh, here it comes. Boop, boop. But then, Shape of Water takes it out. Same thing with Roma versus Green Book, or 1917 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood versus Parasite, The Power of the Dog versus Coda. What was it? Yeah, and granted, a bunch of films versus Everything Everywhere All at Once. But I guess really there was no like clear front runner at the beginning of that year, so it's like it was kind of like everyone was just trying to figure out what was going on. But, like, regardless, frontrunner fatigue is real. Frontrunner fatigue is real. And so, I feel like what A24 might be doing is they're not releasing it wide right now because they don't want people to get tired of Sing Sing. They give us a drop of Sing Sing, and then they'll go, all right, like, what's Sing Sing? It's not out. Like, we're not giving it to you, which makes, and the more people see Sing Sing, more so, you know, with the Academy, you know, when we hear about them seeing Sing Sing, God, it just makes people go, but I want to see it now. I want to see Sing Sing. Give me Sing Sing. And right around Oscar season, that is when A24 blasts it in theaters and go, boom, Sing Sing, boom, Sing Sing. And that's when they start shoving Sing Sing in your face. Because they want to they're playing, I think that's why they're playing this game. Maybe that's why they bought The Brutalist, because now they do have a film that they can push for big awards and can still win a lot of the major precursors, but then they have their little secret weapon with Sing Sing, because inevitably, and I've been saying this, I feel like people are going to get tired of The Brutalist after it starts winning a lot of precursors, because it is a 3.5 hour long film, and I think it's supposed to be like slow paced, and it's going to win a lot of awards and a lot of the precursors, but I feel like that's easily the film that would kind of have its hype die. But again, A24 also has Sing Sing, so boop, it can pop that one in, and then people could still be cheering for an A24 movie. That's kind of my conspiracy theory going on right now. So, yeah. Regardless. But I will say the problem with Sing Sing is that it is not Writers Guild eligible. That is also a major hurdle. It's not Writers Guild eligible. So, where could it win? Well, it could win. Actually, no, it's not going to win the Golden Globe, because they really only go for original screenplays unless you're Aaron Sorkin. Like, at least going back as far as like 2010, they've only really gone for original screenplays. So I don't know if that's happening. So what about Critics' Choice? Maybe, because admittedly, in terms of trying to figure out who's going to win, it is kind of barren right now. It is kind of barren to figure out who's going to win. So maybe Critics' Choice could go for Sing Sing. Maybe? Because, like, I don't know. I know people are trying to say Conclave, and I guess maybe I could talk about Conclave here. Conclave, I just think is a no-wins movie. I just do not think it's going to win screenplay. Even at the BAFTAs, I don't really buy that. I just don't, like, if it's, again, if it's down there for Best Picture, it's just not going to be very strong in general. I don't think it's going to win Adapted Screenplay out of nowhere. I don't think that's going to happen. So... And people could make the women talking argument, but, like, you didn't have a lot of Best Picture nominees in that category, you know? You had All Quiet, but that only had BAFTA. You had The Whale. No, not The Whale. You had Top Gun, which only got Writers Guild, and Women Talking, which still got Writers Guild, Golden Globe, and Critics' Choice. But, like, overall, it wasn't really that strong of a year. Whereas this year, I, like, literally 6 out of my, all of my Best Picture nominees are in the top 5. The top 5 is filled up with Best Picture nominees, and no one really knows what to do with them. But, so that is kind of something to keep in mind. And so, like, I just don't think Conclave is going to do that. One thing I will also mention... Out of this top 5, the only film eligible for Writers Guild in Adapted Screenplay is Dune Part 2. That's the only one eligible. So that means Dune Part 2 could win at Writers Guild. And keep in mind, the Writers Guild Awards, they are right before the Oscars. Like, they are before the Oscars this year. Nominations are before the Oscar nominations, and the winners are going to be announced before the Oscar winners. So we will have Writers Guild as, like, a precursor to look at. And Dune Part 2 might very well be the only film in this category that would win. It might be the only Best Picture nominee in here. Unless, let's say, the Nickel Boys gets in. If the Nickel Boys gets in, all right, then that would be an interesting scenario. But right now, again, like, the fact that Dune Part 2 is the only Best Picture nominee I have here that's eligible for Writers Guild. So, like, and that also kind of made me think, because initially when I heard that Sing Sing wasn't eligible for Writers Guild, I was like, oh no. Oh, it's not eligible for Writers Guild? It's in trouble now. But then I realized, wait, if Dune Part 2 is the only film that's going to be eligible for Writers Guild, then maybe it doesn't really hurt Sing Sing. Because, like, Conclave's not going to challenge it at Writers Guild. It's not going to ride that Writers Guild hype. So I guess really what it will come down to is who wins the BAFTA. And, like, they still could go for Sing Sing. They went for American Fiction last year. And granted, no Oscar season is the same, obviously. But it is one of those irresistible movies. Everyone who sees it seems to love it. The reviews from critics, audiences, like on IMDb and stuff, and on Letterboxd, they're all on this boat. Everyone can get behind Sing Sing. So as long as people see it, I feel like it's going to be fine. So, yeah, it could win BAFTA. Maybe it could win Writers Guild. But because, again, it is kind of hard to figure out where would any of these films win. So maybe because it's the strongest contender overall, Sing Sing just might take it. And again, as long as people see the movie, which they will, that's going to give them reason to nominate it for Best Picture. No, to not nominate it, to vote for it in Best Picture. So, yeah. Although, again, the fact that Dune could win Writers Guild is pretty fascinating to me. But let's talk about some of these other contenders. The Room Next Door. I think this would have to go in off of Golden Globe and BAFTA, because I don't see Critics' Choice going for it. Maybe they could. I mean, it is English language, and obviously it's not Writers Guild eligible. So yeah, I think that might get it nominated. And A Complete Unknown at number 6. I don't know. This I feel like it's going to get a good amount of nominations, but it's probably not going to get nominated for a lot of things. Although, wait, I just realized maybe that could get Writers Guild nominated. Oh, man. Yup, A Complete Unknown is Writers Guild covered, which probably means that it is going to get... It's looking very likely that it could get nominated for Adapted Screenplay at the Writers Guild Awards. Again, as long as it's very well received. That is another factor that we have to consider, is that, Is it going to be well received or not? I'm going off of the notion that it is going to be very well received, like at least generally well received as a musical biopic needs to be to get a Best Picture nomination. So if it's like that, then it can easily get Writers Guild because, again, so much of these films are not even eligible. Nickel Boys, again, that's going to get Writers Guild nominated. But again, I just don't have it in right now because I feel like the other films are just stronger overall as contenders. Night Bitch, I feel like would also very well get Writers Guild. Yeah. That would definitely happen. Queer, I don't know if that's eligible. Oh, hold on. Queer is not eligible at Writers Guild. Like, it's not Writers Guild covered. The Wild Robot is definitely not Writers Guild eligible. I will say, I am going to be seeing The Wild Robot tomorrow as I'm posting this. So, I feel like, okay, it's not going to get Writers Guild covered because animated films are for some reason not eligible, which is stupid. But, however, The Wild Robot is very fascinating because everyone has been hyping it up. Although, like, again, there are a couple of factors that, because as a Best Picture contender, again, the problem is that it's animated. Now, granted, there is also, you can make the argument, well, yeah, it didn't place at TIFF, but the film that was number 1 is not coming out this year. So what was number 4? That is a good argument to make. I feel like that, like, people could be sleeping on that argument because, you know, if the Life of Chuck wasn't there, then maybe The Wild Robot could get in. But what would make me predict The Wild Robot for, like, serious Oscar consideration? Let's say, okay, well, if it got Screenplay at the Golden Globes, I think that'd be locked. I'd be like, whoa, hold on a second. But even Up and Toy Story 3 didn't do that, I don't think. So I guess if Critics' Choice nominated The Wild Robot for picture and adapted screenplay, considering nomination-wise, it's kind of stacked. If Wild Robot actually managed to get into the adapted screenplay lineup at Critics' Choice and Best Picture, that would make me go, okay, maybe it might get nominated for Best Picture. So I guess that would be the thing. But again, it's animated. They don't like animated movies. I mean, God, they didn't even nominate Spider-Verse for score. What in the world was that? Like, why? Or Pinocchio for score. Like, are you serious? Ugh. The Piano Lesson. Wait, hold on a second. Is that Writers Guild eligible? Yep. Piano Lesson is Writers Guild eligible. Although, again, I don't think it's going to get nominated because, how do I describe it? It's like it's an August Wilson. It's a play. It's not even just August Wilson. It's a play adaptation, and play adaptations are generally very difficult to try to get nominated for screenplay because the problem is usually they are word for word the original stage show, and so when you're putting that into a film, it's like, well, you did. It's like the Writers Guild, not the Writers Guild, but it's like the writers branch of the Academy are going, well, you didn't really adapt it that much then. It's just you took the stage show and you filmed it. Whereas, some film, like, that's why you don't get a lot of musicals nominated and why you don't really see a lot of stage adaptations get nominated. They only really get nominated if they do something really innovative for the film medium, like The Father. Like, The Father, like, the way the movie was done, you could only do that on film. You could only produce The Father in that way as a film. So there was some adaptation being done. But The Piano Lesson, I don't know. Granted, I've heard it is more cinematic than the other August Wilson adaptations, but I don't know. Hitman, people are saying Hitman's going to get nominated. No, it won't. It won't get nominated. And here's why. It is just a straight up comedy. Yes, it is very well acclaimed, but do not fool yourselves, people. This is Trainwreck. This is super bad. This is just another one of those movies that gets Writers Guild nominated because it's a big screenplay. Also, I think Palm Springs also got nominated for original screenplay. Like straightforward comedies always get nominated at Writers Guild. It's not uncommon, guys. Will Hitman get nominated at Writers Guild? Very likely. I would probably say yes. But is it going to get nominated for the Oscar? No. No, it's not. No, it's too much of a straightforward comedy. And people could go, well, what about Borat? The Borat movies got in. Yes, but they had also like very strong like political messaging in them, especially the second one. But even then, it wasn't a straightforward. It was still pretty different from like. There's a clear difference between Borat and Superbad. So, no, I don't think Hitman's going to get nominated for screenplay at the Oscars. It's definitely going to get Writers Guild. I would definitely say that. But the Writers Guild Awards love comedies. They love comedies, especially when a lot of movies have been deemed ineligible. So, Gladiator 2, again, I think this would also be Writers Guild eligible. This is a film that, again, it would have to be super strong in Best Picture. It would have to be like Top Gun Maverick. But I'm not gonna say it's Top Gun Maverick because Top Gun Maverick I feel like is just that was a fluke. That's not gonna happen again for a long time. And even then they're still very different, but from each other in terms of the context of when they came out. So no, I just don't think Gladiator 2 is gonna get nominated. Yeah, even if it got into Best Picture, I would not really entertain adapted screenplay unless it like had like major precursor support. Like let's say it got like maybe like if it got like Critics' Choice, Writers Guild, maybe I don't know. It's kind of tough. But yeah, I'm still here, maybe, but we already have a lot of like international contenders, so I don't think that's happening. And then here. I just don't know about here, guys. I just don't know about that. Because, again, the trailers look kind of weird. And just kind of like Lifetime family movie-ish. So, I don't know. Again, we'll have to see what happens when it comes out. But it is directed by Eric Roth. And his movies written by him usually do get in. If not for screenplay, definitely in picture. I'm just not really feeling it. I'm just not really feeling here right now. But guys, those are my predictions for director, original screenplay, and adapted screenplay at the Oscars. Now, I'm going to pass the question off to you. What do you think are your predictions for director, original screenplay, and adapted screenplay? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and consider hitting that subscribe button, because if you don't, here will be retitled to there.